Tell me your wildest first date story. I'll go first.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Omomi aka Petite Diva, and this video is all about dating stories. So this is like a story time kind of video collection of story time. In this video we are going to be checking out people's worst date experience or worst dating experience. A creator on TikTok said people should talk about their worst first date or dating experience, and some people had things to say, so we're going to check it out, and then at the end of this video I'm going to talk about some of the things they said and also talk about some things that I've heard. Anyway, let's check out what these women have to say and let's see what they've had to endure, and if it's horrifying or if you think some of them are still like okay and everything. Let's just check it out and just enjoy the story time, okay?
Tell me your wildest first date story. I'll go first. 2 summers ago, I'm walking back to my car. I'm going up the street and I'm walking like this. And I see this man in like a black Escalade and he's driving like this and then he turns like that. But as I see him, he has his window rolled down and he looks fine. Like when I tell you he was fine, like I was like, oh! So we're making eye contact. He drives past me. I turn around and he has his like head out the window checking to see if I'm gonna look back at him. He flips a Yui so fast, pulls up on me, parks, gets out. Wildest first date story. I'll go first.
So ladies, if you have a wig, hold your wig because this is a crazy story. So I met this guy in Chicago, but he was from Atlanta. When I went to go visit in Atlanta, to go visit my brother, I kind of let him know, text him, like, hey, I'm in town. We never went out on a date before. So he was like, I'll take you out on a date. So we go to this really nice, dressed really nice, went to a really nice restaurant. And then afterwards, he suggested, let's go to this lounge. I'm not going to say the lounge because Atlanta is kind of small. But afterwards, we went to the lounge. I should have just took my butt home, but I didn't. So we go to the lounge. Everybody know him because he's like a well-known guy in Atlanta. So we're sitting at the table, you know, having a little cocktail or whatever. And I'm just sitting there looking pretty. Out of the blue, this guy came up, ran up. It was like a one-side thing. Punched this man. They get the fight. They fall up on the table. They ended up breaking the table. At this point, everybody just kind of went all over. They're fighting around the lounge, literally fighting. So while they're fighting, his keys fall on the ground. I grab his keys. I then go to the bathroom, call my best friend like, girl, this is crazy. What to do? She said, it's time for you to leave. But get in mind, I have this man keys. So I'm looking around. I guess he went out the back door. So I go out the front door and I'm by myself. I see him walking up to me and I'm walking up to him. I'm trying to give him his keys. Whoever the guy he was fighting in the lounge came up out of nowhere, literally, and hit this man upside his head. Literally knocked him clean out right in front of me. He's laid out on the ground, literally eyes looking straight, not blinking. I'm scared. My first thing is, I'm from Chicago. Are they coming to come get? I gotta get up out of here. But I didn't leave him there. I ended up staying to make sure he was good. I go run in his car. This is before I knew how to start a car with the push to start. I'm nervous. My heart beating fast. I'm probably sweating trying to start his car. And I just can't start it because I'm nervous. I don't know how to start this push to start. It was wild. So the security guard knows him as well. So they ended up taking him to like the side. So I ended up getting on the phone with this comedian, which is a well-known comedian. So his friend was just trying to make sure he was good, and I'm making sure he was good and that he was in good hands. So he's sitting there with a big stupid knot on his head. It was wild. It was so wild. I had already called the Uber to come get me because it's time to go right now. Because like I said, we're going to take it back. I'm from Chicago. You never know how stuff like that ends. So it's time to get up out of here. But when I say y'all, I was spooked the entire ride. Like literally looking over my shoulder. I didn't know what was going on.
Tell me your wildest first date story. I'll go first.
No. Let me tell my story, honey. I have so many stories, but this story in particular is interesting, I think. So I let this guy take me out on a date. We literally knew each other since we were kids. He was definitely older than me, but I've known him since I was literally a kid. When I say kid, like I mean kid, like elementary school type thing. So I let him take me on a date. It was never any like foul play or whereabouts when we were kids. Never that at all whatsoever. But we ran into each other years later as adults. And he's like, oh my God, long time no see. You're so beautiful. I would love to take you out. And of course, it was a little easier for me to say cool, you know, because it's somebody that I knew already, like literally. This is a prime example, sidebar, why I do not use that as an excuse, or I don't allow people to use it as an excuse. Like you don't know people, you know what I mean? People change, things change people, no matter if you knew them since you was in elementary, middle, high school, whatever. Like even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, shit, 6 months ago, people change. But anyway, moving right along, because I'm gonna try to do this in 3 minutes or whatever. So he asked to take me on a date. I'm like, sure, cool, no problem. He was already into his career, you know, we are into our lives and da 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 da. I let him take me out to this brunch spot. If you were from Miami or you're familiar with this restaurant, it's no longer there, but it's like this brunch spot that a lot of people used to go to, real cute, the food real cute, over there in Aventura by Bonefish Grill, like in that corner. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, we went there, and I drove with him because it just so happened that where I was at the time, where I was living at the time, he actually was living in the same complex, right? Right. So that's how I think that's how we ran into each other, right? So he was into his career, doing great things, which is great, fine, dandy. But within that and him changing, you know, just growing up, getting into his career, like he just was one of them African-American men who just started feeling like they were better than everybody else. And for me, I take it personal because I've been on both sides of the fence. Okay, it's not oh, people can't change, because baby, I'm black, proud, and degreed up just as well, and I still know how to, you know, conduct myself and be you know, I just don't feel like I'm better than people or my same people. But long story short, really quickly, because I don't have that much time left, but we went on a date. We were having a conversation, and I love having conversation and engaging in conversations. At the time, it was a lot of like black killing going on, especially black men. And I asked him like, hey, how do you feel about what's going on right now? Da, da, da. And his answer was basically, well, if niggas stop acting crazy and blah 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 blah, they wouldn't get what they wouldn't get treated like that, as if like. And I'm like, do you understand you're a black man? So that kind of threw me off, and I was ready to go. And before the eat food,
I went on the worst date of my life last night, and I got catfished before. So if this is the worst date of my life, that says a lot. First of all, I tell my homegirl, I'm like, I really don't feel like going on this date. And she like, girl, he just graduated PA school. He is a doctor. You're going on this date. I tell him I do not like bars. I like hookah bars, hookah lounges, but I don't like bars. That's not my vibe. He takes me to a bar, and immediately I'm like, and he's like, oh, is this not your vibe? Let's go somewhere else. And we end up at a place that I know, a spot that I know that I like. Immediately, he puts his arm around me and starts taking pictures with me like I'm his wife, like I'm his woman. Mind you, this is my first time meeting this man. He is literally taking pictures of me, with me. So I'm annoyed, and I'm like looking at him like, that's weird. And he's like, what's weird? I said, it's weird that you're taking pictures of me and with me. I don't know you like that. Like, I don't. Homeboy has an attitude. He's just like, oh, that's weird? Okay. Okay. Like, he's big man. Like, big man. So the man comes to take our order for drinks. I order my drink. My go-to is lychee martini. So I order it. Then he doesn't know what he wants. So my drink comes out, and he's like, oh, can I taste? I'm like, sure. And there's no straws, so he's like mouth to glass on my drink. So he's like, oh, this is really good, and orders the same exact thing. So of course when his drink comes out, I'm like, here, you take my drink, I'll take this one.
Yes.
I think that's fair, y'all. I personally think that's fair. But homeboy is even bigger mad. Like, he wanted me to drink off of his mouth, and I don't know why. So I'm just feeling uncomfortable. It's just weird. Conversation's going, but he's just doing too much. So by now his words are slurring. He's a little tipsy. He's like on his second, third drink. Words slurring. He's asking me the same questions that he not only asked me through text, but asked me literally 2 minutes ago. And I'm just like, it's time to go. So the question he keeps asking me is what type of men I like. And I continue to tell him, I already told you, I like confident. Oh, I'm confident. I look good. I know I look good. And he's from New York. So if you know New York men, is that type of New York man. Fast forward through a whole lot of uncomfortableness, he forces himself to hold my hand while we're walking to my car. 10 years later, we make it to my car, finally. He's asking me if I had a good time, if I think that we'll be able to go out to meet again. I'm not a fan of pissing men off, especially when there's no one else around, so I'm like, we'll talk tomorrow. And then he tried to kiss me.
I went on a date with a guy. It was fine. I picked up a few icks though, and I didn't want to go on a second one. He wanted to, and wasn't really getting the vibe I was trying to put down, that I wasn't into it. So I sent him a very kind rejection text that basically said, I think you're a great guy. I had a lot of fun. At the time, I thought this was true, but I don't think I'm feeling the connection that you're feeling. Something. I wish you well. He then responded by telling me that I was overestimating my position in this situation and that he never wanted to date me in the first place, even though he wanted to go on a second date, and that I'd need to get over myself. I responded by telling him that he had a fragile ego. This, of course, only added fuel to the fire, so then I received a few paragraphs telling me that I am simple and uninteresting and myopic. What does myopic mean? I didn't know. I had to Google it. He was just calling me simple-minded. After these paragraphs, I blocked him and did not respond. And I realized that, first off, I just should not have responded in the first place. I should not have brought my ego into the situation to call out his ego. The second thing I realized, it's more of an observation. This is not men bashing at all. I think it's just illuminating as to how women are conditioned versus how men are conditioned. Neither of which in this situation are good. When women get rejected, it's what's wrong with me? We turn inwards. What did I do? What do I lack? When men get rejected, at least in my experiences, it's been an outward projection. What's wrong with you? You're crazy. There's nothing wrong with me. I just think that this is fascinating. But the biggest takeaway, we know what myopic means now.
This is the story time of the worst date that I've been on in my entire life. Let's call this guy Edwin, because that was his name. So Edwin and I had been on only 2 dates, and we were talking for like less than 3 weeks. He was a really nice guy. After our first date, it was my birthday a week later, and he gave me champagne and roses, just randomly dropped them off at my apartment. So I was like, he's a vibe. So Edwin and I are planning our 3rd date, and he's like, oh, it's your turn to pamper me. Immediately I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, this date's on you. You're gonna plan it, you're gonna pay for it, you're gonna do everything. And I'm like, because I'd assume that's a fucking joke. So I keep saying to him, I'm like, you're so funny. But I go ahead and I book the date. I just book one of my favorite sushi spots, and I'm like, he's not gonna make me pay. That'd be absolutely insane. Listen, I would not mind paying for a date if I was in a relationship with somebody, not when I'm going on the 3rd fucking date and you're supposed to impress me to try and get in my pants. So the whole week we're talking about this, and he's like, can't wait for your treat. And now I'm starting to get fucking triggered, because in my past relationships, I was the breadwinner, so I always paid for everything, and I dated losers, so they expected me to pay for everything. So we get to the sushi restaurant, everything's going great, and then they're like, oh, what do you guys want to drink? The waiter's like, what do you guys want to drink? And he's like, ooh, I'm gonna get something fancy because Livy's paying today.
Oh, what's that?
What? So then I'm like, okay, Livy, time to be vulnerable. Let him know about your past. So I let him know, I'm like, hey, just so you know, this is really triggering me, because I was used in my past relationships because I was the breadwinner. So this is super triggering for me. And if this is a joke to you, it's really not funny. He's like, I'm not kidding. And I'm like, what? He's still kidding. So the bill comes, and he slides it my way, and he's like, here you go. Man, if you're watching, there's nothing that makes a woman drier in the entire world than you literally sliding the bill towards her. That's pathetic. But I say, you know what? If I'm gonna pay like a baller. So I pull out hundreds. Go to part 2.
The last lady, this lady that is doing her girl makeup, I understand what she's saying about the fact that she's not in a relationship with the guy, and our past relationship, she has always been the one giving, because she, like she said, has been dating losers. So that's why she was like, no, she's not doing this again. And I understand it. the past relationship has already turned her off. So anybody that is not paying for the dates is not someone she wants to be with. And I get that. Some people might not have a problem with, oh, the third date, they'll be the one that will pay. But because of our past relationship and the way things had happened, she doesn't want that. And I guess that's why she feels like that was a terrible date. But for some other people, they might not feel like that, because some people are used to 50-50. I don't understand that 50-50. If a guy is asking me out, he's paying. Except, like she said, in a relationship, maybe even a long-time relationship, or even married, then I can say, oh, I'm going to treat you, let's treat us out. But if it's the first few dates, first 10 dates, you are paying. Me, I'm not paying. I have a similar reason to what she said. Like, the past things I've had, I was using my money and doing a lot of things, and they were not really like giving back. There was one particular person that I had to like say, you don't give me anything. And I was like, I don't even ask for much, but for you to even, you'll be coming to meet me and you would not even bring a bottle of Coke. I called the person out because personally, based on how I grew up, I don't like stingy men. I really don't want to be involved in that kind of thing. So if personally, and I'm saying personally because some people might not find it, have any problem with it, this kind of situation that happened, it could piss me off. True. I would just be like, okay, this ain't happening. Bye. There's the door. Go out. Personally.
Feeling so messy today. So I'm gonna tell you about the time that I dated another famous TikToker. I am pretty sure he publicly cheated on me, but we'll get there. Disclaimer, this is no hate. This all happened years ago. Trust me, I am so over it. I just genuinely think it's funny as fuck. I started doing TikTok in the spring of 2019 and pretty quickly gained like a couple 100K. Fast forward to fall of 2019. One day I wake up and all of my comments are like, oh my god, go look at so-and-so's duet. And basically this really hot TikTok famous guy duetted one of my videos, like publicly flirting with me. I think I had like 200K or something, and he had like 1 million followers, so I was shook. DMs were slid and we started talking. The only problem was this guy is British. In fact, that was quite literally his whole brand. Like, being hot and British was his thing. We would like FaceTime a bunch and text a bunch, but ultimately we just lived on different continents, so it fizzled out. That was until the end of 2019 when we both realized we would be attending the same convention in March of 2020. The convention being Playlist Live, which is like a social media convention equivalent to VidCon. So then we started talking again all the time, falling asleep on FaceTime, the whole 9 yards. Because we knew we were actually going to see each other in person. We both planned on getting to the convention a day early. He got a hotel room for just the two of us before we went to our Airbnb with the group that we were doing the convention with. March of 2020 comes around and it's time for the convention. We fly to Orlando. We meet up for the first time in the airport. And it's low-key straight out of a movie. I like run and jump into his arms. I still have the video. It's actually like really fucking cute. But we were very much just like elated to finally meet in person. We go back to the hotel, we share a night together, and then we meet up with our friends the next day and we go to the convention. And then I shit you not, within like an hour of being in said convention. Mind you, this was like prime TikTok 2020. It is me and a group of other TikTok famous people. This was in my bright red hair era. Bitch, we were all getting stopped by fans like every 10 feet. For reference, this is the era I am talking about. I get a hey girlie DM on Instagram. And this girl comes with receipts. Basically the entire time leading up to the event, where he was FaceTiming me every single night, he was essentially dating some girl back home in London. Granted, him and I weren't dating yet, so he wasn't like actually cheating on me, but he had explicitly told me he was not talking to anyone else. Meanwhile, he has like a whole ass little ting back home in the UK. And the gag was that he had told her he was gonna take her to Playlist Live. And he literally got a hotel room for him and I to share. Obviously, I'm pissed off. I just show him and I'm like, care to explain? He's like, oh, we can talk about it later. I was like, okay, well then bye. He just fucked off, like at the convention, and went and met up with other friends. And for hours, our whole group was like, please come back. He's so upset. Like, he's so sad. He misses you. Later that night, we're all back at the Airbnb. We talked for like 2 hours. I gave him an ultimatum where I was like, look, I'm not gonna do this shit. You're either gonna date me or we're fucking over. Which, in hindsight, I will never give a man an ultimatum like that again, because you shouldn't have to give a man an ultimatum. Like, if he likes you, he'll do it, you know. But he did it, and he asked me to be his girlfriend, so we made it official that night. It genuinely gets so much fucking worse, because one of the girl's friends sees all of this happening, and thus begins one of the most insane, stalking, cyber harassment incidents of my entire career. This girl's friend proceeded to make 20 plus accounts across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, where she would just DM me and post the most vile things about my appearance, about me, about our relationship. And this went on after we all went home from the convention. This was going on for like weeks. Back to the original plot of the movie. We say our goodbyes, and of course we're now officially dating and we're long distance. We agree that he's gonna fly out and live with me for a couple months, because I had my own apartment in Utah and he was still living with his parents. But also I was working a full-time job. Like, I couldn't just up and go to London. He was doing social media full-time, so it just made sense. But I kid you not, as we're sitting in the airport waiting for our flights, I'm watching the news and it's like, first confirmed COVID cases in Florida. And within like 2 weeks, the borders were closed. So he was stuck in the UK and I was stuck in Utah, which, looking back, is a fucking blessing in disguise, because Lord knows what would have happened if he did come and live with me for a couple months. We tried to do the long distance thing for a couple months, and within that couple months, he got really into his Twitch streaming. It went from falling asleep on FaceTime every night to having to literally beg him to call me. So I started watching his streams from like a burner account so he wouldn't know I was on there. And he was gaming with this other girl, like full blown on Discord calls with her, and the chat was like shipping them, and like the chat also knew that I was his girlfriend. It was this whole fucking thing. This girl was like an OF model and content creator who like also kind of had her own following, so it was a mess. Finally confronted him about all of it, and he broke up with me over Snapchat message at 4 a.m. I had work at 6. I showed up to work sobbing, and they literally had to send me home early because I could not stop crying. And then we never spoke again. And that was that. Again, this is no hate. This is just one of those hindsight is 2020 type of situations where I like to look back and laugh, and you should laugh with me. Okay, that's all.
Okay, so for the last story, so the guy just broke up on Snapchat. But wait a minute. I think I've told someone that I'm not interested by text. But the person was just not it. And later I found out that I was the second person, the side piece. So no regrets with that. Any which way, she kind of is laughing about it. And then when she was talking about March 2020, I was like, is that not COVID period? At that time, I knew there were some cases and things were flying already. So then she said, okay, like 2 weeks while she was watching, while she was returning, and they talked about the fact that some cases have been detected and reported. So I was right. The whole thing, it was just, I think it was the distance that caused them not to get closer. But then again, he was already doing some things with someone before, but then again, they were not official. But then again, he said he was not talking to anyone. It's a good thing that everything just went the way it went. Now, for the other guy that brought his kid on the first date, it looks like he was looking for a mother for his kid. The stories were interesting. I don't, like I said, I've talked about the other girl that was wearing the green stuff, headband. I talked about it relating to my own situation. The last girl, well, the separation, I feel like the distance was what caused them to not vibe totally. And there's a possibility he just did not like her like that after he met her in person. But any which way, I would love to hear your thoughts about the whole situation. I would love to hear your own story, your maybe first date, worst date kind of thing, or if it might not even be the first date, it might be just the worst date you've ever had, or any dating experience that is just terrible. Please leave your comments in the comment section. I would love to read about it. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like videos such as this and you are not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.